Part of the agreement, 200 Palestinian prisoners have been released from Israeli jails. Just seeing from Egypt, state-linked media, they're saying 70 of those freed Palestinian prisoners have arrived in Egypt. A large number of the others are going to the West Bank, and our correspondent John Donnison is in Ramallah. Just describe the scenes to us, John.
Well, you can see the 3 prison buses behind me. About 20 minutes ago, those buses arrived, and frankly, pretty chaotic scenes as the prisoners got off. A very large crowd, and we saw the prisoners in their grey prison fatigues, many of them with shaved heads, long beards, a lot of them looking pretty thin, it has to be said, hoisted onto the shoulders, carried into the sports complex behind me. You can just see one now emerging there. Man in his 40s, I'd say, maybe his 50s, being carried out with a shaven head. And when they arrived, you know, the scramble to get to their loved ones. I just saw one prisoner coming out on the shoulders, and what looked to be his young son was hoisted up and put into his arms. Now, the big difference in this prisoner exchange this week compared to last week is the people released today, many of them had been convicted of much more serious offences, including murder, killing Israeli civilians. Now, those convicted of the most serious offences, and I think there were 121 of the 200 serving life sentences, they're going to be taken to Egypt, as you say. They're there already, and they're going to be deported to countries including Qatar and Turkey. So the people here, and I think there's about 100 or so who've been brought here today, they will be allowed to return to their families, their homes in the West Bank. Many of them have been in prison for years, and it's really a big moment for Palestinians here. The prisoner issue is a massive one. Most families in the West Bank will have had a family member or a friend who's been held in Israeli prison at some point. And, you know, these images today, it has to be said, Hamas will make hay from them, because they'll say, look, we are the force that is getting our prisoners out.
Just describe to our audience around the world, A, how many Palestinian prisoners are held in Israeli jails, and B, how many do we expect to be released as part of this hostage release deal?
Well, there are thousands of Palestinians held in Israeli jails from a whole range of offences. As I say, every family probably has a member who at some point has been in an Israeli prison. In the past 15 months, there have been, and you can just see another prisoner coming out here with the kafir. So quite chaotic scenes there. He's just coming past, being carried on down through the crowd with the Palestinian kafir scarf on, the scarf that Yasser Arafat, the former Palestinian leader, was very well known for. And going back to that question, thousands of Palestinians have been arrested just in the past 15 months across the West Bank, and also detained from Gaza. In this first phase of the deal, the first 6-week phase, we are expecting another 1,600 Palestinian prisoners to be brought out. Some more now just emerging. 1,600 more to come in the next 6 weeks, including the most high-profile prisoners, those convicted of the most serious offences.
And John, we mentioned that this is the first phase of the 3 phases of this ceasefire and prisoner swap deal. What is the mood in the West Bank about hopes for all 3 stages passing off and us getting to the end of the process?
Well, a few things. First of all, there's huge relief that there is some sort of ceasefire, albeit perhaps temporary, in Gaza. There is celebration and relief that these prisoners are coming out today. But overall, I would say there is absolutely zero sense of optimism that this decades-long conflict is anywhere near to coming to an end. You know, Palestinians here in the West Bank feel like they're being squeezed like never before. They've seen a rise in attacks by Jewish settlers in the West Bank. They've seen a rise in Israeli operations targeting militants in the West Bank. Just this week in Jenin, right in the north of the West Bank, we saw a large Israeli military operation which killed, I think, at least 13 Palestinians. And the past 15 months in the West Bank, although overshadowed by events in Gaza, has been the most deadly, the most violent in decades. So, you know, there is absolutely no real prospect of peace here, and we sometimes hear international political leaders saying, you know, the next stage is rebuilding Gaza and a two-state solution, a Palestinian state living side by side with an Israeli state. But the truth is, you know, there's no optimism that that's coming anytime soon.